Welcome back. Today we're on Serenity Strategy 2, and we're linking them very much with the seasons. And it's winter here where I live in the Northern Hemisphere. So the emphasis is on that cold winter days where there are no leaves on the trees, and we're all hoping for signs of spring. So that's where I am. Your part of the world might be very different, but the important thing is to adapt the ideas for where you are. So when we feel a little stressed or anxious, we know that we want our body to regulate. We need to send those strong messages to our mind that our body can stand down and be calm. We want that cloak of serenity. We want a serenity sanctuary. That's how I like to think of it, where we can go away from the busyness, the pressures of everyday life, and just feel calm. So today's strategy is called Hearth Home. And it's about creating that feeling of safety through very small changes. Some people call them rituals, some people call them routines, but it's something that you do that makes you feel better. And the key word that I'm using today is comfort. It's something that makes you feel comfortable. And that's the wonderful thing about Hearth Home. It doesn't matter where we are, and not every home these days has a hearth, but we've got somewhere that we feel comfortable. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is think about Hearth Home, comfort, not so much as a place, but more as a feeling, something that you can pull out of that toolkit that we're developing through this series of videos. What we're looking for is a sense of warmth and safety and reassurance that you can carry with you wherever you are, which is why I tend to call it a cloak, that cloak of serenity that you can put on and carry around with you. Why shouldn't we be inspired by folk tales and fairy stories in the time of winter? And in busy or uncertain times, the nervous system, our neurology, is looking for signs that it's safe to settle down. And small cues, small prompts help us to get to that place of comfort. Okay. I have the studio. The signal for the internet at the moment isn't great in the studio. I can show you some pictures of the studio, which is pretty much a small cabin where I go to work and I go to write. It's my place of comfort. If I was to imagine a serenity shelter or sanctuary, for me, it would be my cabin. That's where I have that. And I know that I'm incredibly lucky to have that. I haven't always had that. Sometimes when I've been very stressed at work, I'm trying to think, there was a time about 12 years ago where everybody had to reapply for their own jobs in our health service. And I didn't know if I'd have a job at the end of it. And I would, when I felt very stressed, I would go home and I would wrap myself on the settee in a duvet. And I would stay like that for at least half an hour. And that sent a message to my brain to calm down. That, there were many more dreadful things in the world than worrying about whether or not I would be in the same job in the next month. Now, for many of us, home isn't perfection, but we can make a small part of it into that place where we feel comfortable. Familiarity, something that says, imagine a sign, rest here, pause. Think of that long pause that we did in the first video. Rest here, it's fine. And in winter, being warm and feeling comfortable matters more than we realise. So, the message for today is that I'd like you to think of one small, warm change, a routine, something that you can use that helps you to feel that feeling of hearth and home. So, I might have looked a bit confused there because I'm about to use visual aids and I don't usually do that, but here we go. The first one is this. It's a warm drink, a cup of English tea or a cup of coffee, and that very act of holding it in your hands, holding that cup in both hands and feeling the warmth before you take that drink. Okay, a warm cup held in both hands is a really strong signal that we're comfortable, everything's fine. Okay, let's put that down. And I've talked about a serenity cloak. Whoops, I'm going to talk about a serenity shawl or cardigan, something, a dressing gown, something that you can wrap around yourself and feel warm and feel comfortable. So there we are. I shall do that. I shall wear it like French people do over my shoulder. There we are. The next one would be something to have with that cup of tea, something that's warm and comforting. And we have these in the house at the moment. I hope you can see them. I can take a photo. It's homemade oat biscuits. And that cup of tea or coffee and the oat biscuits is hearth and home. There we are. And the final one, which I'm linking to what we did last time, here we are, holding, showing you, I think this will work, a candle flame. Oh, I thought I'd blown it out, but I haven't. Here's one in a salt crystal. I love the different shades of it. It works so well for me. I have them all over the house. But any candle, lighting a lamp or switching on your lamp and having a candle works very well. So there we are. Thinking of things that make wherever you are feel more comfortable is incredibly important when you're building that Serenity Sanctuary. You know, I'm safe enough. I'm comfortable. It's okay. If you are out and about and you don't have those things, I would put some photos on your phone, on your smartphone, photos that make you feel comfortable and happy, and use those at this sort of time. That works very well indeed. I would have photos of my garden in June because the herb garden in June is at its best. And I can almost imagine that I can smell a rose or the lavender. So our rituals, my candle, my cup, those rather wonderful oat biscuits, don't take the stress away. That's a whole other matter, but it helps us to cope. It stops that feeling of anxiety flooding in and taking over everything else. It's almost, I think, imagine soft focus lens. You're blurring the edges of the day. You're blurring the edges of the stress. And that's how a day or a moment becomes more bearable. In fact, that's given me an idea for a mindful moment, which we will do together now. After that, I'm going to leave you with some scenes of the hearth. Coming to live in France, it's very much wood burners. There isn't really, other than an electric radiator, another form of heating in this part of rural France. So looking at the hearth does usually make me feel calm. And I do have a hearth in this home. So I'll share that with you. And if you're living in a city flat and you don't have a hearth, please share my hearth after the video. Use it. Use the wood burning flame for a mindful meditation. All you need to do is do the same candle flame meditation that we did in the first video. Okay. I said that while we were talking, I'd had an idea for a mindful moment. So here goes. I'm going to talk you through it. If you feel like closing your eyes, close your eyes. Imagine a feeling of warmth. You might be standing at a cold, icy bus stop, but imagine that feeling of warmth in your body. It will make a difference. And imagine that your fingers are feeling warm and that your toes are feeling warm and that you're feeling fairly relaxed. And then imagine yourself on the screen of a television or a laptop or your phone. Imagine yourself there. You're looking at a photo of yourself. And as you look at that photo of yourself, you're going to change the lenses. You're going to change the focus. So what you're going to do is look at that photo and apply a soft focus lens. So the edges become a little blurred. Your hands, the edges become a little softer. This is about feeling soft, feeling a little more comfortable, a little bit more relaxed. And that's the absolute fundamental idea of hearth and home. It doesn't matter where we are, we need to have that feeling of comfort that's personal to us, that we can bring out anywhere and feel maybe only 5%, 10%, 30% better. But what I've worked out is that 30% better on a stressful day is pretty good going. So I will say, look at that, imagine that photo. If you feel, oh, I can't do that, I can't do a photo of me, I can't imagine me, imagine something else. It might be a pet, it might be the park, it might be the place that you've gone on holiday. But imagine that there on your phone, in your head, imagine that place and apply that soft focus lens to it. You know, seeing the world with that soft focus lens somehow makes it feel more comfortable and warmer. Okay. That one was made up on the spur of the moment today. So hope that one helps. So it's been good to share Hearth and Home with you today. And I'm going to leave you with some images, some film of a hearth or hearths that I've experienced and been close to over the last few months. So take care and see you next time. Bye.